There are marquee moments in every person's life. At least there should be. I hope there is. The birth of your first child, or any child for that matter, is a miraculous, amazing event. I've experienced some other not so common moments. The first time a musician created music for the lyrics of one of my songs was a close second to the birth of a child. When I heard our creative collaboration come to life, I couldn't help but shed tears of joy. This unique feeling is something only experienced by an artist who breathes life into a newly discovered artistic skill. Or at age 23, when I came to the end of myself. As I knelt at the foot of a waterbed in a dark, depressing basement apartment, I shed tears of anguish, and God quickly replied to my cry for help. He answered by imparting a peace and calm I had never felt before. And in what seemed like only a second, I was given divine instruction to make 7 significant changes to my life. And during a chance meeting with a fellow high school alum at a 50-year reunion, I heard some unexpected Good Samaritan news about my alcoholic father. That's a story you'll want to hear, and here it is. In the fall of 2019, my class of 1970 Bishop Chatard classmates convinced me to make the drive from Cincy to Indy. Our gridiron play alongside the 1969 graduates had produced the school's first undefeated football season, and we took the liberty to invade their 50th class reunion party in the end zone of a Friday night football game. I easily recognized the 69 alumnus who rushed over to greet me. "Steve Davis, I'm so glad you're here." Partner in a highly successful immigration law firm, 50 years of aging and not made its usual impact upon Paul Gresk. The former All-State player garnered a football scholarship to Indiana University when our coach, Carol Perica, told IU's John Pont, "You can't go wrong with Paul. He's the toughest guy on the team." But the intensity of my former football and wrestling teammates' keen interest to see me again, quite frankly, took me by surprise. "Paul, yeah, hey, good to see you too. You know, every day I thank God for your father. I start the day out by thanking God for the people who have helped me in this life, and Pete Davis is one of them. Your dad was a very special person." I struggled to make some sense of this. My dad a godsend to Paul? Are you kidding me? I couldn't hide the look of disbelief on my face. For the first 30 years of my life, my father had been a verbally abusive drunk. How had he made a positive impact on Paul's life? Now, 12 years before his passing, my dad checked into a rehab center run by Catholic nuns in Batesville, Indiana. After getting detoxed, he was a completely different person and nothing like the man who had been addicted to alcohol all those many years before. Well, Paul continued and told me about his dad, Clarence, who was involved in a head-on car accident with a truck. And the truck won. After 33 surgeries on his hip and knee, he still needed a cane to walk. To deal with his chronic pain, Clarence became addicted to pain pills and alcohol, and he had difficulty holding down a job. The Gress family often lived hand to mouth, and it was not unusual for the 4 Gress kids and their mother to go to bed hungry. Recognizing this dire need, my dad gave Clarence a position in his accounting firm. But even more amazing, during Paul's sophomore and junior years, and for the fall of his senior year, the Gress lived in my dad's rental house for free. 9 years before this, they got evicted every year for not paying the rent and were forced to move to a different house. My father had stepped in to help break this pattern. Though our gym lockers were next to each other, I had been blind to what Paul was going through. He was so ashamed of his family situation, he never let me know he was living in the house I was born in. But I do recall there were times when he gave me some older brother type advice. And at the time, I wondered why an upperclassman was going out of his way to be kind to me. Because of my dad's act of kindness, Paul did not need to work to help support his family. He had the freedom to concentrate on sports. That allowed him to get a full scholarship to Indiana University. No wonder he thanked God every day for Pete. 50 years later, Paul's revelation about my father was so moving, I was speechless. Later that night at the hotel, I was compelled to tell the good news to my 2 older sisters, who had also been harmed by our father's bizarre behavior. My oldest sister, Carol, when hearing what was so counter to the character of our father, replied, "Love this story, Steve. Thank you for telling me, and you're right. This is a wonderful story to pass on to the grandkids about the generous, kind heart of their great-grandfather. I'm going to thank Our dad in my prayers for his humble generosity. Without any bravado, he cared for a fellow alcoholic and his family even before he himself was in recovery. That's amazing, reassuring stuff, bro. And my other sister Sally added, "Wow, Steve, that story is amazing. So glad to hear it. It's a different picture of our dad, for sure." Well, the next day, while walking along the Monon Trail before heading home, an epiphany came to me. After I graduated from Miami of Ohio in 1974, I found the post-collegiate demands of life so distracting that I never looked back. The pages of time had quickly turned, and before I knew it, career, marriage, kids, and grandkids were upon me, and the past was left far behind. But those years I'd spent maturing from teenager into a young man were some very good years, and they set me on a path for a hopeful future. So during my walk, I wondered how my fraternity brothers were doing. I found my first fraternity brother on LinkedIn, and he suggested I organize a reunion. After many hours of people search, our reunion took place in the fall of 2021 at Miami and Oxford, Ohio. The weekend was an enormous success. Many testified to the dramatic effect of their reconnect. One reported, "I've gotten back in touch with many old friends I haven't seen in years. Wish I could see them all, but ever so grateful to connect with the ones I can." Another fraternity brother said, "It's amazing how many of us have taken this as a life lesson to do a better job of staying in touch. I found myself reaching out to a lot more people to see how they are doing." Now, next up was to use my newly acquired sleuthing skills to find lost Bishop Chatard 1970 alumni for our 50th reunion, some located in distant parts of the United States. This reunion also experienced a big turnout. Several days of fun events were spent connecting with classmates, and gatherings were held at some of their homes. The Friday night of the End Zone football party, I had the honor of singing the national anthem at midfield. After that weekend, I met up with Christine Davis Welcher, a first cousin on my dad's side of the family, for lunch in Columbus, Ohio. We hadn't seen each other in 8 years. The story's not over. Over the years, wonderful experiences and important goals, of course, were met, but regrets about leaving my childhood and collegiate friends behind when I exited that part of my life remained. As this reunion journey gained traction, I realized how much they'd been missed. To overlook the inherent value of their friendships was a mistake. When he was only 9 years old, Bill Wakehorse was a Little League hurling sensation. After making futile swats at curveballs that broke several feet, the umpire's "Strike 3" was the last thing ball players heard before they exited the batter's box. A 1960 newspaper clipping detailing his pitching prowess of striking out an average of 15 batters every 6 innings was still in my possession. I wanted to give it to Bill, but even with my advanced detective expertise, I couldn't locate my boyhood battery mate and wondered if he was still alive. The weekend of the 1970s 50th reunion, I had lunch with another ballplayer friend, Mike Lockery. Our first choice Starbucks was closed to inside service due to a Delta variant COVID scare. For an alternative, he suggested Broccoli Bill's restaurant in Carmel, Indiana. Shortly into our conversation, Mike asked, "You know who owns this place, don't you?" 15 minutes later, Bill Wakehorse walked over to our table. I could hardly believe it. Over 60 years had passed since I cradled his curveball in my catcher's mitt, and I'd given up hope we'd ever meet again. As I drove away from our unexpected reunion, Bill yelled out, "Steve Davis, you have made my year!" The next year, a scaled-down reunion was held in Noblesville at classmate Debbie Briner Wolford's place. I arranged for the 5 members of Bishop Chatard's 3-time state champion cheerleading squad to see each other in person for the first time since high school. This wasn't easy, as Kathleen Lillis Tinsley hailed from the state of Washington, Donna Stokes Henry from Michigan, Judy Pratt from Lebanon, Indiana, and Paula Keckley Kirkpatrick was local. Catherine Getz Howard joined from Arizona via FaceTime. That night, those very athletic alumni, separated by some significant miles, were brought up to date on the many years they'd been apart. As a young man, I was into football, wrestling, baseball, and basketball. Some like it hot, as do I, and even cumbersome catching gear couldn't dampen my love for my favorite sport, baseball. Summer leagues always followed school spring play to extend the season, and our American Legion team was an Indy Northside cream of the crop. Players from Bishop Chatard, Cathedral, Ritter, Brebeuf, and Broad Ripple High School put aside their parochial competitive instincts to work together as a team during the summer. Bishop Chatard's Ball Diamond was our home field. During the fall of 2022, I organized a dinner with players from our 1969 and 1970 American Legion summer teams. Some of these guys I played ball with as far back as Little League. Many hadn't seen each other in over 52 years. Our lives had taken different paths from the many days gone by, but the basic character of the men hadn't changed. A few weeks later, a business trip took me to San Francisco. I took the liberty of booking some time in California's wine country. I had dinner in Napa with three first cousins I hadn't seen in over 62 years. Between bites, I learned some very interesting news stories about grandparents on my mother's side. Paul's simple yet poignant act in the fall of 2019 to reveal my father's hidden gem of kindness turned into a pay-it-forward moment 50 years delayed. It set off the domino effect of a multi-year tour connecting with high school and college classmates, baseball teammates, out-of-touch relatives, and even included a few unmentionable surprises. I had the usual number of friends, relative neighbors, and church members, and in my case, tennis buds and business associates turned into friends, but my existing circle of friends expanded exponentially to now include relationships from the first 2 decades of my youth. During our conversations, buried memories resurrected and a flash of insight was revealed. The 3 L's, learn from the past, live in the present, look to the future, became a visual presentation of the 3 dimensions of time. It's natural and healthy to spend the bulk of our time in the present. However, making peace with the past to tie up loose ends paves a way to live life to the fullest. And of course, it's always a wise move to spend some time planning for the future. Thus, the 3 L's concept, all of us can benefit from learning from the past, living in the present, and looking to the future. A final thought, as much as you think you know someone, even if you have spent years with them, you may not know all there is to know about that person. Quick to judge, slow to forgive seems to be the natural inclination. But Paul's revelation about my father showed me how a flawed person is capable of an amazing act of kindness and generosity. And who knows how many other silent acts of charity my dad may have done. For as I found out later, this kindness Dad showed the Gress family was not his only secret hidden gem. But imagine how much our society would benefit by putting into action the very opposite of human nature, by a reversal into slow to judge and quick to forgive. For some, that would be their amazing act of kindness.